Welcome to Breakfast with Champion at Port City Cafe in Biloxi, Mississippi. I'm Jeff Marion.
And I'm iHeartRadio's Randy Kennedy.
Good morning, Ernest.
Good morning. Good morning. Good seeing y'all again.
Good seeing you.
And great weekend. LSU maintaining that #1 position. And Saints had a great game. So I'll be back a little bit to talk with y'all.
We'll see you back here in just a minute.
All right.
How you doing, Randy?
Doing great. Another great weekend of football on the high school level, the college, and as you mentioned, on the pros with the Saints getting back on the winning side.
Well, I tell you that with the week of the playoffs for the high school sports this weekend, seems like there's one left standing on the Gulf Coast, and that's Gulfport.
Yeah, Gulfport with a big win over the weekend over George County. That was a really close game and a good game, but now it sets up a rematch. Now playing against Oak Grove out of Hattiesburg. They played earlier this year. Oak Grove won 37-13. The game was really over by halftime, so this is a game that Gulfport's kind of been looking forward to of can we get to the playoffs and get a rematch in this game, and so now they got it. We see if this outcome will be different than the one before. I will say this, one of Oak Grove's losses this year was to George County, the team that Gulfport just eliminated. So you put those two things together, and obviously Gulfport with a chance to pull off the win this week against Oak Grove.
Well, looking at it that way, I'm sure the coach is going to have them ready for that, and that gives you a little bit of confidence going into this game this weekend that, hey, we have a chance.
Gulfport, they have a chance against everybody, right?
That's true. And Cade has been playing real well as a quarterback. He's racked up close to 2,000 yards in passing this season. What did you see you said you saw Oak Grove play this weekend?
I saw them play earlier in the year. I saw George County beat them, one of the big wins in George County history. Oak Grove is they're still a very explosive team, but their quarterback last year was John Rice Plumlee. We'll talk about in the college segment from Ole Miss. He was their quarterback last year. Obviously, when you lose a playmaker like that, you're kind of, you're kind of refiguring your offense for the next year, and they've done that for this year. But they are really balanced, running and throwing the ball, and of course that's what you get out of Gulfport too. Good at every single position, offense and defense. So I think this is going to be one of the really good matchups in the state in Class 6A this week.
Well, being that playoffs are about to wrap up, we're going to see the championship come up soon. What are you seeing in recruiting of the college for college this year?
I think it's really interesting that every year when you have the Egg Bowl that's not on a Saturday, what a big deal that is for in-state recruiting, whether it be Ole Miss or Mississippi State. We'll see that again this week, this year, when every big-time recruit in the state will be at that game. And I think it's a big advantage to be able to, host these guys, the host school in the Ole Miss Mississippi State game, to say, look, you don't have to go out of state to play big-time football, to be in a big-time environment. So I think you'll see that again this year. One guy to keep an eye on is J.J. Pegues, who is a big tight end from up around Oxford, will be at that game. Was at Auburn last week, and he's just one of the guys that you could see be influenced by being part of that big in-state rivalry that every kid in the state of Mississippi is going to be influenced by being at that game.
Well, there's a couple of chances for people to see some of these recruits in some all-star games here locally.
Yep, as soon as we get the season over with, we got the Alabama-Mississippi all-star game, which this year is going to be in Hattiesburg again, and then, of course, the in-state all-star game. So those are coming up as well once we get through these playoffs, but hopefully we'll have next week we'll still have Gulfport still talk about alive in the playoffs.
Wow. Coming up, we're going to tell you how you'll have a chance to win a pair of tickets to see the Egg Bowl, and we will talk about the Egg Bowl. More on college football and the NFL coming up on Breakfast with Champion.
Folks, Vic Dehan at Champion, and it's back again, employee pricing. And we're happy because we can pass the savings along to you. For example, a Cherokee Latitude, MSRP $30,000, as low as $21,000. 29% off the MSRP. Stock number 69065. Some terms and conditions may apply. The Black Friday sales event here at Champion all month. ChampionValue.com.
Champion! business has one speed, fast. And with new 1 gig internet from Sparklight Business, you can put yours on the fast track to success. We're delivering on our promise to connect you to more opportunities, more speeds, and more flexible plans. With speeds up to 1 gig, you can download a 2-hour presentation in 8 seconds. Collaborate across the country in real time. Access cloud-based applications instantly and more. Because with new speeds come new possibilities. Call now to find the right speed for your business with Sparklight Business.
Welcome back to Breakfast with Champion at Port City Cafe in Biloxi. I'm Jeff Marion.
And I am iHeartRadio's Randy Kennedy.
Well, we're talking about college football. There's a chance for you to win a pair of tickets to the Egg Bowl coming up. All you have to do is text football to 72727 to win a chance to go to the Egg Bowl on Champion Chrysler Dodge. And this segment, again, presented to you by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. So, Randy, Tua, that's a big story this weekend with Alabama playing Mississippi State.
Yeah.
What do you know about his injury and how's that going to affect him?
Well, he is out for the year for sure. The interesting thing is what's his future going to be going forward. Having surgery on that hip, the prognosis long-term is good. I thought there was about a 1 in 20 chance he was going to come back to Alabama before he got injured. With the injury, who knows? He's got, really has got a couple of options here. He can go to the NFL draft, whether he's healthy or not, and he's going to be drafted in the first round, maybe not in the top 10. Another option is to come back to Alabama and play next year, or he could come back to Alabama and not play next year and just enter the next year's draft. So he's still got a lot of options there, but he's done for this year. So for college football 2019, that chapter is closed. But what a great young man, and really hated to see him get hurt. But when you look at his career at Alabama, it's interesting because he had 21 games as a starter and had 4 major injuries in those 21 games. So basically, 1 out of 5 games he's going to suffer a major injury, and that's what happened. So, what it means for Alabama football going forward, we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, I see there's not a lot of fall off. I know that Mac Jones is not Tua Tagovailoa, but it seems like Nick Saban has him prepared to play out this season, and they still are kind of sitting, waiting for someone. And with Georgia playing LSU most likely in the SEC championship, one of those are going to fall out.
Yeah, I mean, everything will shake out, but for Alabama, a lot of things have to fall into place. And if you look at last weekend, none of those things started to fall into place. In other words, Utah and Oregon out in the Pac-12 both won, and they're 90% chance to win all their games going out. The other thing was Oklahoma beat Baylor, was bad for Alabama. Minnesota did lose. I guess that was a little bit of a good thing. But if you look at the college football playoff now, I think there are 5 teams now that control their own destiny. Obviously, the big 3 of LSU, Clemson, and Ohio State. But then I also think if Georgia wins out, they're in for sure. I think if Penn State wins out, they're in for sure. They would have to beat Ohio State this weekend. So we're down to 5 teams that for sure can play their way in. And then I think, if those 2 teams out in the Pac-12 continue to win, the winner of that Utah-Oregon game in the Pac-12 championship game is going to be in as well, which that's bad news for teams like Alabama and Oklahoma.
Wow. And LSU, anytime they win, it's going to be big. And there was some talk about possibly with the adrenaline of that game coming off of a high win against Alabama that they might get slowed down a little bit going into Ole Miss, that it could be a trap game. What did you see there? I didn't see it.
Well, offensively, they didn't slow down. I mean, when the game was in doubt early on, Joe Burrow looked like the Heisman Trophy winner he's going to be. Just completely dominated in his performance while the game was still in question. On the other side of the ball, the LSU defense is not dominant. I mean, this is not your grandfather's LSU program. They're great on offense, not as great on defense. But John Rice Promley, wow, the quarterback that we mentioned earlier from Oak Grove, was just terrific as they run for more than 400 yards. Ole Miss does against LSU. But it's one of those games where, as an LSU program, number 1 in the country, you just have to get through. And LSU successfully did that.
Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he had a great game. He's getting some momentum. Also, there's a couple other running backs there that LSU has in their stable ready to go. I just don't see LSU getting slowed down going into the playoffs this year. Do you see?
No, it doesn't look like it. I mean, look, they haven't even wrapped up the SEC West yet officially, but they're about to. They will this weekend. So, no, I don't think they're going to get slowed, and then they're going to face Georgia in what's basically a playoff game. The winner goes to the playoff. The loser, if it's Georgia, is certainly out. If it's LSU, we'd really have a lot of discussion, with a one-loss LSU team against some of those other teams we already mentioned. But yeah, they're going to be in Atlanta for the SEC championship game. It's almost, it's kind of like a road game when you're playing Georgia there. So that's going to be interesting to see. Georgia just kind of survives against Auburn over the weekend at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Yeah. I did want to ask you this. I want to go back to the Alabama game because there's been some criticism of Nick Saban about should he have played Tua and had him in that long. But when you're playing football, you're playing to win, and I think you could probably throw a little bit of water on that argument right quick.
Yeah, you could look at it and say maybe he shouldn't have played the game at all because of his ankle injury. You could make that argument if you want to make that argument. But as far as him being in the game late in the first half, I mean, look, Ohio State blew out Rutgers, and they had their quarterback Justin Fields in the second half. Justin Herbert from Oregon, the great first-round draft pick coming up, he was in the game with 3 minutes to go in a game where they led by 28. So, but those guys didn't get hurt, so we don't talk about it.
Right.
So having him in the game, I think that's gotten blown out of proportion. And I also think that because of if you're watching the game on TV and you heard them talking about it so much, it became a bigger subject.
Right.
Whereas it really shouldn't have been that big a deal. And I think, really, I hate to say it, but I think that stemmed from the fact that early on in the college game day, Todd McShay was there at the stadium, and he reported that Tua was not going to start, that he wasn't moving well, and he wasn't going to start. And so then when he did, it was a little bit of that egg on your face, and then, kind of justify your erroneous reporting pregame, saying that, he's not healthy and he shouldn't be out there, where I think he was healthy enough to play, but like I said earlier, he started 21 games. He's been injured 4 times in 4 of those 21 games. So it wasn't completely unforeseen that he would get injured, but Nick Saban in Alabama wasn't doing anything that Ohio State didn't do, that Oregon didn't do, that LSU didn't do,
right,
as a matter of fact. So, I don't have any questions whatsoever about how that was handled.
Well, in a game like that, too, if you pull your punches or you say, we got this wrapped up, a team like that could come back and beat you in the second half, and then you're on the outside looking in. Right now, they still kind of have a hand in controlling their destiny, and you've got to put all your weapons out on the field and play at least for another quarter to see what's going to happen. So,
well, and this Alabama defense has been known to give up 28 points and a half.
Absolutely.
They were up 28, but this has not been a dominant defense, so they wanted to get one more score before half and then be able to rest him. Of course, unfortunately, didn't work out that way for just a great young man, Tua Tagovailoa.
And with LSU and Alabama nearly comes back and wins in the second half. You just can't go in with a confident lead at the college level. You couldn't do that even on the pro level.
Exactly.
So I see that. Well, we're coming up against another break. Remember your chance. A couple of tickets to the Egg Bowl is coming up from Chrysler Champion Dodge. Text 72727 for your chance to win a pair of tickets to the Egg Bowl. Text football to 72727 and more about NFL football and your betting coming up.
Hey folks, Vic Dehan at Champion Chrysler Dodge Jeep. I got some news for you. Employee pricing is back. You Ram bars, a 19 Bighorn 4x4, MSRP $50,000. Your price as low as $34,000. That's 32% off MSRP. Stock number 49110. Certain terms and conditions may apply. It's the Black Friday sales event all month at Champion. ChampionValue.com.
This town is on the move, and we're moving forward with you, helping you grow your business and connect to more customers using today's ever-evolving advertising technologies. Now we're taking our commitment to you one step further, connecting people to one another, connecting your business to the world, connecting what's now to what's next. Sparklight Advertising. Go anywhere from here.
Welcome back to Breakfast with Champion, presented by Hard Rock Casino and Hotel. I'm Jeff Marion.
I'm Ernest Ulrich.
And I'm Russell Shank from the Hard Rock Casino. Excited to be here and really excited about December 2nd.
Yeah.
Breakfast of Champions coming to Hard Rock to shoot a segment in the show. And I'm excited about having you guys. Thanksgiving's coming up next week. We got a huge party set up at I Love 305 on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. We're calling it Drinksgiving. So come out and have a drink with us. Did you know that the night before Thanksgiving is actually the biggest drinking day of the year? So come on down to I Love 305, have a drink with me at Drinksgiving at the Hard Rock.
I'll be there.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Man, a great weekend for football. Your Tigers, LSU Tigers, still undefeated.
Yep.
The Saints got another win. Last week was uncharacteristic for the Saints coming out of bye. Sean Payton is, since 2009, had a winning record coming out of the bye. Last week they stubbed their toes on the Atlanta Falcons. But what did you say about the Falcons earlier?
I was seeing this, a lot of people coming out saying that the Saints really looked flat and didn't play well. And I saw the other side of the coin. I said Atlanta may have turned the corner a little bit. They played really well. They've got the weapons. They have a great team. They just need to get it all put together. And look what they did to Carolina yesterday. I mean, Atlanta's got a good team.
Well, the move they made, sending Raheem Morris back to work with the defense, that did something because their defense got woken up. They're able to exploit some weaknesses on the offensive line, and they're taking advantage of that. But as far as the Saints, they did some repairs, having Andres Pete out, and Nick Easton took his place. And they kept Drew Brees pretty clean. And then the defense was a beast yesterday. You want to talk about that, Russell?
I tell you, they looked really, really good. They were putting a lot of pressure, turnovers. When you can get 4 and 5 turnovers, you're going to win the game. And what I really noticed that stuck out to me yesterday is Kimura looked 100% healthy. Mm-hmm. It was the best I thought he had looked since he had his injury. He had that burst of speed. He had the ability to make people miss. And there would be some times where you're like, he's bottled up. But, man, he'd find a little bitty hole, and he was through it so fast he'd get 8 yards.
Yeah, there were some hiccups last week with him returning
right.
After his injuries. But Ernest, what did you see out of this game that you see they're turning the corner, getting back into their routine?
Well, one thing going to Jared Cook more, the touchdown to Jared Cook was unbelievable. I mean, to go up, to the height that he was at, and then to land and control the ball was just a phenomenal catch right there. So, and then, of course, Michael Thomas. I mean, he's on his way to an MVP quiet season. I mean, he's got almost 100 catches in 10 games, I mean, in the NFL, that's real strong. So, I mean, they're just going to their weapons like they have been. I mean, Breeze, keep him clean, and he's going to pick you apart. And, of course, Sean Payton, coming off of a loss, he don't lose very often 2 in a row. I mean, he's kind of like Belichick. You put a bad taste in his mouth, and he's going to put together a game plan and come back with a victory next time around.
We had Michael Thomas. He had eight catches for 114 yards.
Yep.
And he's had 100-yard games back to back. He's stacking them up. He's over 1,000 yards receiving for the year.
Yep.
How big is that? How special is that?
With Michael Thomas, that inside slant route that he runs is unstoppable. Mm-hmm. Anytime the Saints have 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, whatever, no defense can stop him on that slant. He's got such a big body. He runs such crisp routes that he gets himself always between him, the quarterback, and there it is. And they can't stop it. I would love to see what the percentage of catches out of his almost 100 catches this year were a quick inside slant to get a first down.
It's almost like watching Colston when Colston was there with the Saints. I mean, they run the same route. He's got about the same size. I think Thomas is probably a little faster than Colston was, but I mean, it's pretty much the same system with them.
Well, with the schedule coming up for the Saints, who do you think? I know playing the Falcons again on Thursday night, usually Sean Payton on prime time, that's going to be a big game.
Yep.
I don't think the Saints are going to stumble on them this time. They're going to be ready. But who do you see as being the biggest threat on their schedule that's left? Because they go to they play Indianapolis, play San Francisco.
49ers, no doubt.
I mean, without a doubt, it's going to be the 49ers. I don't think the 49ers are playing that well right now, but the great teams always find a way to win, and that's kind of what they've been doing. They seem to let team play to the team's level. It's like Arizona yesterday was right there, just hammering. But the great team finds a way to win.
Yes.
And that's what they do. Mm-hmm. And they've got Green Bay coming up this week. And I'm excited about it. They moved that game to a night game. It's going to be this Sunday night. They flexed it to the evening game. And you're going to have the two titans of the NFC besides the Saints going at it. And the line for that game has Green Bay as the underdog, which I'm happy about.
In Green Bay.
Yeah.
Well, San Francisco in their win against Arizona, of course, the Cliff Kingsbury experiment is still going on there.
Right.
Chip Kelly did something similar when he came in, had some success right away, but it didn't take long for people to figure him out and stop him. He still tends to make some rookie coaching mistakes.
Yep.
I think give him a couple of years in there, he's going to get that program going, and they're going to give that, the NFC West a run for their money.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you, Seattle's looking really good. Russell Wilson is having an MVP-type season. Mm-hmm. And so I can't wait to see some of the games and how this plays out. Dallas looked really good yesterday. I mean, the NFC, the teams are starting to put it together a little bit.
Yeah, there's going to be some of the divisional matchups as we start getting into the meat of the season, running around the corner, the last lap.
Yeah. We can't count Carolina out this week going to New Orleans against the Saints. I mean, that's going to be a strong. It'll be a tight game. That's another robbery game.
Well, we're going to talk about sports betting when we come back, as Hard Rock Casino presents the Breakfast with Champions.
The employee pricing is back at Champion. You pay what the employees pay. Vic Dehan at Champion. We got an MSRP of $37,000 for a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Employee pricing price is $27,000. That's almost 27% off the MSRP. Stock number 69051. Certain terms and conditions may apply. It's a Black Friday sales event all month at Champion. ChampionValue.com.
Welcome back to Breakfast with Champion at Port City Cafe in Biloxi, brought to you by Hard Rock Casino and Resort.
Yes.
I'm Ernest Ulrich.
I'm Russell Shank from the Hard Rock Biloxi. Come down and see me.
And this week, talking about some of the games that are out there, Penn State and Ohio State. This is going to be an important matchup. Ernest, they're talking 59 points, 59 and a half on the over-under.
Yeah.
And Penn State losing by 18 points. What do you think about that bet?
Well, I'm looking at Penn State with the 18. 18 is a big number. It's a lot of points. It's a rivalry game. Penn State has got one loss on the season. Ohio State has no losses. So, I'd have to take the points in that. Ohio State gave up 21 points to Rutgers last week. So I mean, we talk about LSU and them giving up 30 to Ole Miss. But you see Ohio State giving 21 to Rutgers, and Rutgers is the bottom. I'm talking the bottom of their division. So I can see Penn State plus 18.
I completely agree. I think that this game is going to be much closer than what they're putting out. I take Penn State all day with the 18 points. The game means too much, and I like the over. I think it's going to be high scoring. And I think you got to take Penn State in the points.
Yeah, I think Ohio State should win it straight up, but I don't think they're going to cover 18 points on that.
Just too many
LSU
points,
looking at
teams.
LSU Arkansas right now, 43.5 points is the over/under, and looking at LSU. I mean, that's a lot.
Let me
no,
say
43, not over/under. That was the 43-point spread.
Yeah, I think it's like 44.5. But let me say this. If you ever get an opportunity to bet on a team that's getting over 40 points, bet them. Getting 44 points or 43.5 points, you put a little money down on it. I mean, I just don't see how LSU beats them by that much. I think they start bringing in their second string guys, getting some folks some experience, staying healthy going into the SEC championship.
Yeah. And this is an SEC game. I mean, they're not playing Western Carolina like Alabama is. It's an SEC team. I mean, you can easily pick up a fumble, run it in for a touchdown, run a punt back. You get one or two fluke plays, and Arkansas gets 14 points. That means LSU's got to put 57 up.
Right,
exactly.
Right. See, I was thinking it's not going to be hard for LSU to score the points, but with the rotation of defense, putting in your second, third string guys, getting them some play time, covering with 43 and holding, like you said, scoring 60 to 80 points to cover the spread. That's
a lot of points. A lot of points.
That's where my money's going to be. And then on the pro side, we've got the game I really like, the game of the week is actually a tough game. It's Green Bay, San Francisco. But Green Bay's getting 3 points. I think that is the lock game of the week. I think they win the game outright, but now you're getting 3 points to go along with it at home. Oh, yeah. And San Francisco has not been playing that well all day. I'll make that bet today.
Yeah, they're just playing enough.
It's not very often that you see Green Bay at home getting points. Yeah. That's kind of like the Patriots at home getting points. You don't see that very often. So, sure enough, you got to take Green Bay in the points.
Wow, and that over/under on those 45 points, I see it being more of a defensive game. I don't think they score that many points, do you?
When it comes to that game, when it comes to the over and under, you got to wait. You got to wait and see what the weather's going to be like. I mean, it may be snowing and the under's going to be a sure bet. But if it's a pretty day, they can put up points.
San Francisco and Washington was like a 6 to 9 game if the weather's bad outside. We could see that happening. Well, that wraps it up for another week of Breakfast with Champion, presented by Hard Rock Casino and Resort. I'm Jeff.
I'm Ernest.
And I'm Russell.
We're saying goodbye for the week.
We'll see y'all next week, or the week after.